going on, guys? Welcome to another review. Mr. P, hello. Right, today what we're doing is something I gave a sneak peek of in a review that I did the other day, and I'm just going to get straight on with it. So today what I'm doing is this beast. This is the King Style 26650 mechanical mod. This comes to me free of charge from AngelCigs.com, so thank you to them for sending this down to review, and obviously it will not impact what I say in said review. So that's what I'm doing today, is 26650 King. Jesus. Right, so there it is. The thing is absolutely gargantuan. This is it next to a copper penny, and I mean, it's just ridiculous. But hey ho! So a few of the nitty gritty details. First of all, price. Let's start with price. We always like to know what the price is. $28.99. So that in real proper money is nearly 17 quid. It's $16.95 at today's conversion rate, but so call it £17. Delivered from the US warehouse. This is a China-based company, but they have US warehouses, obviously for increased or decreased shipping times and so on. So that's delivered free as well, by the way, if you spend over $15. We've got a few pictures of it on site. I'll go for a bit of information after I've done a close-up of it, but that's what we're doing, 26650 King. So I'm going to chuck it down into a close-up now, so you can have a proper look at her, and then I'll come back up to me and we'll have a little flappery-doogan. Right guys, quick little close-up of the 26650 King from AngelCigs. Just welcome to the ridiculous is all I'm going to start off with. Let's get the appearance of it over with first of all. Firstly, lion head right there, number 0260 on this one. Obviously this is a clone, guys. And then King written down the back. Let's get rid of some bits and bobs. Let's break it down. Right, first as I've just shown you the tube. Not much going on there apart from what I've just shown you. Threads quite nice and smooth insides. Threads quite nice and smooth in there. One thing I will say about this is this has not been polished since the day I got it, and that there is still looking pretty good for brass, since I've used it a fair bit. So good stuff. Brass tube covered. Switch on top. Let's start with the top. Right, air paths, lovely and big. If you were going to be using anything that needed an air path to the 510, it's there if you need it. Knurled kind of grooving around here for grip, it works really well. In here you've got a tube style adjustment for ATI and battery rattle. One thing I have noticed with this is that when you first get it, what I did, because of certain ATIs, is I grabbed these pliers here and I hulked this bad boy down as far as I could get it, because some ATIs will struggle to make connection on there, so just be aware of that. Quite a long 510 in this, you know, quite a long copper contact, but still, even with that length, we're still quite far down there, so just be aware of that. Them shallow 510s may struggle. A way you can combat this is by sanding down this dowel ring. Okay, I haven't done that, but I would if I needed to. A problem you may then encounter is, once you've screwed this in, say she still sits all the way up here, the batteries I use, which is a Sony 50 amp, even when that's at its fullest, I back that all the way out to the point where it's basically just catching a thread in order to eliminate battery rattle, which I will show you, but that's kind of where I sit for the battery rattle. So bear it in mind, guys, there might be a little design flaw there with the fact that that is just slightly too small, that contact, but I've not any problems with it. It's just something that I know that a few people have had problems with. Other than that, it's a solid hunk of brass. This thing really is big, and it really is heavy. I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest with you. Fully mechanical, obviously. Let's get rid of that top cap. There's a little bit of feathering off the door in there, but you know it happens when machining plastics and such. Button. So no insulator down here. All you've got is the gap between that and that contact there to stop your batteries firing. you have got venting here, and despite what it looks like on camera, that is a big drill hole. Copper contact again, making sure we hit hard. Knurled, love it, nice and easy to grip, nice and easy to throw around. And that is a reverse threaded locking ring, so I do like that too. On the bottom here we've got, you know, our bit of a laser engraving there, king in the shield. You know, it looks quite nice, it's actually fairly well done. So no problems with that either, I think that's pretty nice. Let's have a look what's going on. Let's have a look at some of the specs about this. It does say magnetic switch. If it's not magnets, it's a very, very firm spring. Let's open her up and have a look. So, to open it up, this is not reverse threaded, just unscrew her there. Copper contact pops straight off. Oh, hello, we have 4 magnets in fact, so that's 2 2s. So 4 magnets. Just put them down there. Our button, she's quite thick too. Just a solid bit of brass with a threading in there for your copper contact. And then we have our locking ring, which I've eagerly thrown, and then the rest of our switch assembly, which is basically just a solid hunk of brass with that drilled into her. So let's stick our locking ring. She likes to run away. Stick our locking ring. It's because she's reverse threaded. Silly Mr. P. Stick our locking ring back on, and then we'll make sure our magnets are facing the right way. So stick one set in. They are repelling. So just make sure that they go in the same way. I've just said that, and I'll still cock this up now. They don't sit over that there, they sit on top. Okay, so once you've done that and that, be quick, sew it all back together and just hold it in place. This button can undo and has undone on me. I did solve that by depressing the button like so, grabbing these tweezers here and giving it as good a bloody turn as my fingers would allow, and that didn't undo since then. And then push back together. This button press, she's a pretty firm press. Not the worst I felt, but certainly not the softest either. So you could replace it with a spring if you wanted to. Now there is a bit of room around this button for if the battery were to vent for them gases to escape. So you know, that's all well and good. Button feels quite nice. Would you run on an ATI like this? Mod like this, sorry. I mean, typically an ATI like that. That is a 28.5 mil Stellaire. Which again is just as equally ridiculous. So when we put her together, ATI on first, always ATI on first, worry about the airflow after. And this is what I'm saying to you, she's just about making a connection there, and this has got a fairly decent 510, and with that, with the Sonys that I'm using, this is going to have to come well out. Now the way I've been adjusting for battery on this is I grab the tube and I'll screw that onto there. I'll then plonk this bad boy in. I'll then catch that couple of threads there, undo that, screw that down, then screw that down. Even still, there's a bit there. As you're screwing it up, as you can see, that's how loose it was. There is definitely an issue with the length of this 510 connective positive pin. So let's try again. Screw that there, screw that button off, all the way down. Fine if you flip it so it faces up like so, then screw it in. Well, not as bad, but there is still a bit of a battery rattle there. She will fire though, just so you can have a look at that. Nice little bit of blue juice, the moose juice there. But 26650, king, lovely. Pop it on. It's just, you know, to truly grasp how ridiculous that is, because on camera it's hard to put things in context. This is coming soon, a review before anyone asks. This is an EH Pro Valkyrie dripper hybrid. That's a 900 mAh spinner battery. Okay, I haven't got a Cigger like here, but you know, it's ridiculously big. It's huge. In fact, my Fortune mod 18650. It's ridiculous, but it's bloody cool, isn't it? Right, I'm going to come back up to me now, guys, and we are going to have a lovely little vape on this redonkulous dripper, and have a nice little chat about this little mod here. So, yep, come back up to me now, guys. A nice little vape. Right, guys, welcome back up. a few things went over in the close-up before we get into the site, I guess. So first of all, she's a big bitch, alright? Huge. In fact, biggest 26650 mod I've held, and that includes the 26650 Stingray. Bigger still, heavy as hell. The laser engraving, as you see in the close-up, I mean, it's done pretty well. I'm not sure if it's my preference, to be honest with you. I might take this back to a complete bare tube, but you know, it's done pretty well. Air paths cut in for your 510 if you wanted something bottom fed through 510. Realistically, if you're using this, guys, you're probably using one of the newfangled 30mm tanks, K-Funds, foggers that are out there, or you're going to be using an RD of some description like this. This is a 28mm Stellaire, but chances are that's what you're going to be using, something along them kind of lines. So bottom air fed isn't necessarily essential, but it's nice to be there and it adds to the look. Switch, magnetic, love it. So big in fact that they need 2 sets of magnets in it. Gives you an idea of how big it is. It is a fairly firm press, not super firm, but a fairly firm press. If you wanted to reduce how firm that press was, you could always take out one of them set of magnets, maybe use it for something else. I haven't actually tried it because I don't mind a firm press, but some of you guys don't like it. Alternatively, you could replace it with a spring if you really wanted to. It's not hard to do. Venting through the bottom, nice big vent hole through the bottom, so no complaints with that. Obviously the button's inset, so you can down with the locking ring off and it's not going to fire on you, which is spot on. Haven't any problems with this button undoing on me like I do in several mods. With all mods though, when I first got it, I tighten it down with a pair of pliers just to make sure that that isn't going to be an issue, and it isn't. In a mod like this where it's easy to tighten down, it's not an issue. The only real issue with this mod in terms of design is the one pointed out down there, which is the length of the 510 connection and the battery rattle adjustment. Now, I can just about get this battery to stop rattling, and even then, you know, it can move and it starts to rattle again, which is a bit of a pain. Also, this 510 connection is at its highest. It can't go up any higher, and it's just making contact with this there. So if you've got an 80 with a narrower 510 or a shallower 510 connection, or even an inset 510, I think you're going to struggle. A way to combat that, like I said, would be to shave some of that Delrin back, or to remove the bit that's sticking out into the tube section altogether. But then in turn, you then lose your battery rattle adjustment because it's further up. The only thing you can really do about that is to source a machine screw, just for the bottom one that's longer. Now, ideally, AngelCigs, hopefully you're listening, what you want to do is take off 2mm from that Delrin, that's the insulator that's at the bottom of the top cap, and give us 4mm on the screw. That combats all problems. I know we're losing 2 and replacing it with 4, but realistically it could do with a little bit more as it is. But it does work, it is usable. I can get this battery to the point where it doesn't rattle, but it's a pain, because obviously as you sort of screw that down, then you screw that down, it kind of tends to tighten it a bit, and that then brings the screw up, meaning you've got a little bit of rattle. But it can be done with this atomizer. That's as simple as it is. Like I say, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done there. That's the only real niggle with it to this point. I'm going to go through what it tells you on the site, just because, you know, you might like to know what goes on the site. Don't always want to visit the site, but it is down there anyway. Right, so King Style 26650 mechanical mod in brass. Depth, which is the width, 31. Height is 104 millimeters, and weight is 138 grams. I don't necessarily think it's 138 grams, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I know I've got heavy atty on top and I've got a battery inside. It feels like more than 138. They specified that the Hades they sent was 138 as well on the site. I believe it's heavier than that is, so one of them, it might be incorrect. Just a gut feeling, not fact. I haven't got my digital scales with me to confirm it. Supported battery 26650, of course. You can get reducers, or sorry, I suppose it'd be increasers, to make an 1800 series battery fit in these mods. Why the hell you'd want to do that, I have literally no idea, but they are out there. 510 threaded, colour gold, material brass. I'd like to point out that the colour is brass. So, I mean, I suppose the colour is technically gold, but it's not plated, it is exposed brass. Magnetic switch listed, which is cool because it was listed as a spring on Hades and it wasn't. So that's that as it's listed, $28.99. And the bulk buy situations can be earned here as well, so if you buy more than one you can buy a load of them and save a bit of money off of each mod, which is pretty cool. And again, dispatched from a USA warehouse as opposed to an Asian one, meaning you may have a reduced shipping time. Good stuff. So let me have a little vape. Right, so let's get on with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move straight into a 5-point hit list, which is what I do. And it just covers all the bases of bits and bobs. First on the 5-point hit list for the mods will be looks. The look itself is fairly simplistic. It's pretty much a sort of standard tube. You know, you've got slattings along here, which is parts you undo. Reverse threaded locking ring, love that. Slatted both parts of that as well. The top cap's pretty funky looking, you see it in the up close. Then you've got the lion's head, 0260 and king. I would prefer them to be actually engraved into the tube as opposed to laser engraved, but more than that I prefer it if they weren't there, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The king written on the back I'm really not a big fan of at all. The lion's head I can kind of live with, and the serial number's fine, there's no problem with that. But really that ruins the looks a bit for me. I know it's part of the original mod and la la la, and I'd be saying the same if I was holding a, you know, a genuine king 18650, whatever it is. Several configurations. So based on looks it could be a 10, but I'm giving it a 7 purely because that ruins the entire thing for me. Usability. Usually with a mechanical mod, the usability would be stick a charged battery in it, screw on your atomizer and you're away. With this not so much. I mean, there are benefits in terms of usability. The fact it won't fire if you put it down with the button not tightened or the button not locked off is one of them. The adjustment itself, the way the adjustment's done, something we're very familiar with now since, you know, Chi used them before. But because of the lack of extension in that 510, meaning that certain atomizers won't connect without modification, and then when that modification is taken you need to source additional parts, usability is getting a 7 as well, because really, if nothing else, just a longer battery adjustment screw could solve issues, but ideally we need that insulator reduced, or the 510 pin extended, might even be a better way of doing it, and then the battery adjustment pin. I mean, if you extended the 510 adjustment pin, that would resolve the issue. That, you know, make that 3mm longer, so it brings it out into the tube a bit more, meaning you have to use less of the adjustment in the smaller screw, and it would result in the same thing. You know, it means you'd have connection properly at the top, and you'd have battery rattle sorted at the bottom. As it stands, if you're using an ATI, as I said, if you're using an ATI that will connect, but your battery rattle's just off, then you can source additional machine screws for this in the UK, nutsboltsandthings.com or the .co.uk, I can't remember which, but you'll find them if you want to. They do them. Unfortunately, they don't do copper. They didn't when I last checked, sorry, my hair. They didn't when I last checked, so you will have to settle for a brass one, but they're on there and you can specify the length, and they cost pennies. They're not pound, they're pence. So you can pick them up if you wanted to. You shouldn't have to though. So that is what it is. Maintenance is number 3. In terms of maintaining it, keeping it clean. With brass it's always a bit more work than it is with stainless steel. You've got to polish it and so on and so forth if you didn't want the patinaed look. Talking of the patinaed look, I've used this thing a fair bit and it doesn't seem to be patinaing particularly fast. So maybe some coating on there. Most brass mods at this point would be nearly black, and this is still fairly sort of brass looking and golden. So that's a plus. Other than that, maintaining it, all you've got to do really is clean your contacts. No more than that. So maintenance is getting a 10, same as most mods would. So there you go. Let's just have a little vote. Build quality and price. So price, let's call it 17 quid. Sorry, need a drink now. Call it 17 quid. Well, I mean, you're not getting a hunk of metal for your 17 quid, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The fucking thing's huge. It weighs a ton. The build quality itself, with exception of immaterial parts, by immaterial parts I mean parts that were added to the actual metal construction, is 10. You know, the machine quality is fine. It's kind of, it's not a polish, it's like a brush brass. The slat's fine, screw feds are fine, magnets in the switch are more than fine in fact, because they're magnets. All the contacts seem to be machined fine, it's just they're not quite to the right specification. So build quality is going to get a 10 from me, with exception of the design flaw there. Now, price for 17 quid, it's cheap as chips, really is. 17 quid won't get you much nowadays. In terms of any UK vendor, sorry, I can't think of anywhere I'd be able to get a 26650 mod from. I can't think of anywhere I'd be able to get an 18350 mod from for that money. That's delivered as well. I mean, with the exception of Fast Take, obviously, but then, as I've said before, their quality seems to be a bit inconsistent, and I'm not talking about a little bit of adjustment issue, I'm talking about things fall apart in your hand. So for price, it's getting a 10. Build quality versus price, I think you're getting what you're paying for. You're paying 17 quid. It works. It's just as a niggle. So as far in that regard, I think you're getting a nice bit of build quality. I think the mod is built well. So yeah, I'm going to give the price versus build quality a 10. Spot on. Overall, it's a bit of a tricky one. Because the adjustment pains me, it does, and the king on the back annoys me. I really like it, I do. This is one of them things that, it's not like certain mods where there's nothing wrong with them, I just don't like them. This is the complete opposite of that. There's bits that are wrong with this mod in terms of design, but I can't help but like it, I really can't. I think the weight is a big factor of that. I like things that feel like they're in my hand. I mean, I've got big hands, so you know, that in my hand will look like some 1800 mods would in others. But I can't help but feel myself drawn to this. If I'm going for this sort of Hades, instinctively I'll pick this up, and the Hades is spot on. I'm going to recommend it. I like it, I really do. I think for 17 quid it's a bargain. The battery inside cost me nearly that much. I did see today as well, which excites me, I know this is off topic, but eFest have released some 64 amp 26650 3500 mAh. That for me is exciting stuff. It's the purple range of the 26650s. Keep an eye out for them, guys, they are there. But overall, yeah, I love it. I love the 26650 form factor. I love the fact that I can push sub-ohm builds, 0.4s, 0.5s. I mean, this is a fairly respectable 0.7 dual, which is what I'd run on an 1800 series if I was running dual. And this thing will last me ages. And this is a 2600 mAh battery, 50 amp push. So with more amperage, more mAh, this thing could go for 2-3 days. And when you're sub-ohming, you're used to things not lasting that length of time. So I am definitely going to recommend it. I'm going to recommend you check out AngelCigs for several reasons. Other than price, there's massive amounts of products on there to choose from. They've got the bulk buy situations on there. I found their delivery times to be much better than certain other retailers. And I think they're a fairly sort of interactive company, so I'm definitely going to recommend them for that. So please go ahead, check out AngelCigs if you haven't already. They've got some banging gear on there. Other than that, I'm pretty much done here. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I've been Mr. Proton. Shall see you soon.